So this new attempt basically has me starting with half-size capturing. I figured since my new monitor is so large, maybe that might be better. But this is my human priest, Zzifnab. I don't know if those of you have ever read the Margaret Weiss or Tracy Hickman story regarding it's called The Death Gate Cycle. It's 7 books. You have the Sartan and the patrons who basically have light versus evil kind of magic wielders in a either super futuristic world or super pre-human existence, even like pre-life type of world situation. Basics of the story were that there was one world, and because of the advent of magic, you had 2 different types of magic wielders. The Sartan kind of considered themselves like the better ones of the 2. Patrons considered themselves worthy of ruling all. And basically the Sartan managed to capture all of the patron magic wielders into a holding area while they themselves manufactured the world, so to speak. They had like something called like the Great Sundering, where imagine tearing the planet Earth apart and then turning it into 4 separate worlds, each representing one of the elements of the planet Earth. So you have the realm of fire, the realm of water, the realm of earth, and the realm of air. In the center of all of this, they had what was called the Nexus. Not to be confused with the Nexus, like with Heroes of the Storm or anything like that, but inside the Nexus, the center of the Nexus, so to speak, was where they put all of the patron people. So the Sartans basically put all the patrons in this Nexus, and the intent was that they would have to pass through what they called the Labyrinth. The Labyrinth being a creation that the Sartans monitored, which was like basically it was supposed to be a maze where they were supposed to learn how to work together, love one another, be a little bit more close to one another, and it was supposed to take some of the it was supposed to take the hatred, I guess, that the Sartans felt that the patrons had, make them more like them, so to speak. The problem was that shortly after they had this great sundering, the Sartans lost control of what they had done. They kind of unleashed a much greater evil that they didn't expect. Unleashed a big-ass can of worms, so to speak, to the point where they literally had to go into hiding because this great evil was far and above what they could handle. I just realized I have gotten myself into a situation where I should have sold a bunch of crap before I got out here. Let's see what I can do about this inventory real quick. Maybe I can throw some of this crap on or something, I don't know. Anyhow, in the book, the character Zzifnab is kind of an otherworldly kind of character. He kind of transcends time. He doesn't really exist where the rest of the people of the books exist. He kind of has maybe you could call him maybe like a time traveler, so to speak. I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the town, as opposed to picking up that or dropping off that quest that I was trying to do. Yeah, for example, like Zzifnab is a human priest, he calls himself. But he's a little bit more than that. He's accompanied at all times by a dragon who seems to try to keep him out of trouble as much as possible, but yet Zzifnab also often kind of puts his foot in his mouth by quoting things that are not at all related to the time frame that he's in. For example, he's known to sing songs from the current world. Maybe not necessarily new songs, but maybe songs like from like the 50s. He's kind of drops hints at things like Marilyn Monroe, perhaps, might come up in some of his musings. He's also very, he's just kind of like a strange fellow, like an old man. You know the phrase, Deus ex machina, the ghost of the machine, or the god of the machine. He misuses that phrase often throughout the book, trying to let people know what's going on. Very interesting character, so therefore, when I first actually started playing WoW back in the day, there was a whole guild. The guild was called Evolve, but I ran into them when I hit level 20 on my first character, my warrior back in the day. And the whole entire guild was sitting in front of Stormwind in a line because they were taking a screenshot because they had just killed Alexia. So, as I wandered upon this group, I noticed that one of the people of the guild was named Haplo. And having recently read the books, that just kind of immediately piqued my interest, so I sent him a message, and he let me know what they were doing, that they were waiting for a buff to kind of hit, but I don't know, for some reason the quest got bugged and the buff never hit the way it was supposed to or something, or maybe they actually weren't the first guild to kill an Exia that day. He never really admitted what happened, but he also mentioned that they had some other characters in their guild named for characters in the book. Like they had a Hugh the Hand. Haplo was like the main character that you followed throughout the entire story. It was a really interesting read. Haplo was supposed to be a loner. His name was a representative of just how brutal things were in the labyrinth where he was born and raised. His name was supposed to be like single or alone. And on the way that the events unfolded in the books, he kind of never really got to be single or alone as often as he really would have preferred, probably. But yeah, I've always wanted to have a human priest named Zzifnab. So, even though I spelled it with two Z's because somebody stole the correct spelling, or somebody had the correct spelling on a character that they no longer play, which kind of sucks, but you know, what are you gonna do? My first character had many Z's in his name, so I was known for starting a lot of my characters with two Z's after I made him. My first character was named Xanax, ZZY, ZZX, and then I threw in an extra XANYX. On the way out to Las Vegas, if you're driving on the 15 freeway from Southern California to Vegas, there's a Zzix Road. ZZYZX. Which is always interesting to see. But I kind of took it a little bit further. I really like the name of that road, and the Xanax kind of just came about as like a play on words for the drug Xanax, which I've never actually been on, but when I was first reading the introduction in World of Warcraft about the different characters, I actually did spend some time while the game was installing just reading through the original user manual, which is kind of funny. You know, the warrior class was kind of described as the one that would be out in front of the party. It's kind of like the leader, you know, they made reference to like the warrior charge, as well as like the battle cries and stuff like that. And that sounded really interesting to me because I was like, wow, that, you know, where else would I rather be in a battle in a world where you're constantly fighting everything than the front line? I would, you know, that was the first thing I thought of, was like, you know, wow, I'd love to be in the thick of the hunt instead of being, you know, in the back or anything like that. I would always want to be like, you know, in a prominent position, fighting down there in the thick of things. So and I got into WoW about 6 months after launch, give or take. A friend of mine had already been playing for a little while. He had started a Night Elf Druid, and he would tell me about the game. We'd get off at work, and we'd call each other, and we used to play a lot of first-person shooters together, so we were known for hanging out on the phone for extended periods of time, just chit-chatting mostly while we were playing, but once everybody moved on from, you know, Doom and Doom 2 and Quake and all that kind of stuff, we all kind of went our separate ways playing different games, and he picked it up on a whim. The next thing you know, he was telling me about it, and one of the things he mentioned to me was just like talking about like the travel and stuff like that in the world, and I just couldn't really comprehend what he was actually saying. He was like, yeah, the game is really huge. It takes, if I want to go from one place to another, I gotta get, I have to take like a griffin ride to so-and-so and jump on a boat, and then there's like a tram and all this other stuff. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It didn't make any sense. So, I don't know, after a couple of times of him talking to me about the game, I ended up buying it and checking it out, and sure enough, it was just insane. Like, it's kind of like how he had mentioned when something's weird. I think that my sound is actually coming out of my speakers and not my headset. I wonder if my headset's even recording anything. Maybe I should stop and make sure.